All right. Webinar is now broadcasting, and we've got our attendees coming in here. Fabulous. Welcome, welcome everyone to today's broadcast. We're very excited today. All right, so we're going to wait just a couple minutes while everybody arrives with us. Wonderful. I like to see this. We see the numbers rising. This is good. Rising like Joe. Great. All right. Once I see those numbers kind of level out, we're going to go ahead and, all right, fabulous. So welcome everyone to today's webinar. We are very excited to be here with some tremendously talented experts in culinary. We have some amazing panelists here with us today who are going to join in our conversation as we continue forward with our webinar series for the summer, which is called Delivering Delight in the New Normal. Today's webinar is focused on unleashing creativity and innovation in the era of social distancing. And we have 3 culinary experts here with us today from Facebook, LinkedIn, and Carpigiani, as well as Baron's Gelato, who we'd like to introduce you to. So first we have Chef Yumi Her, who is the Executive Pastry Sous Chef at Facebook. Welcome, Yumi.
Nice to see you all. Thank you.
Nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
We also have Anna Bobot from LinkedIn. She is the Food and Beverage Program Manager at LinkedIn in the Bay Area. Welcome, Anna.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Welcome, Anna. Anna, am I correct in saying that it's specifically the San Francisco Bay Area that you cover?
Actually, I just very recently got promoted to a global position. So I was managing the HQ and San Francisco campuses, but I am now in a global role as a global food program manager.
That's great. Congratulations. And last but not least, we would like to welcome Chef Baron Gottsacker. He is the chef and instructor for Carpigiani Gelato University, and he's also the CEO and owner of his own company called Baron's Gelato. Welcome, Baron. Welcome, Baron. Thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So we're going to jump right in because we've got a lot of really fun and exciting content to cover today. We thought it would be fun to initiate our webinar today by looking at some of the exciting and innovative trends we see arising in the face of social distancing. And Chef Yumi and Anna and Chef Gottsacker have let us know about some of the trends that they're seeing. So we're going to explore some of these with our panelists today. And we're going to start off with some of the trends that Anna brought forward to us. Anna is the Food and Global Food and Beverage Program Manager now yes. At LinkedIn. So Anna, would you like to speak to some of these trends?
Yes, so thank you for letting me kick this off. We are in very, very weird times right now, and it's pretty much forced us to be creative, innovative, come up with solutions that are safe, but will deliver high quality food to end users. And this is not just in the tech world, this is in restaurants and retail and in private catering and events and all of that. I mean, a lot of it had to come to a halt, which has given us time to come up with ideas and learn best practices from people that didn't have a lot of time to, that had to pivot right away and couldn't shut down. A lot of small restaurants, for example. So one huge component of what's changing is the entire dining experience, which is so evident, especially in places where there's a shelter in place or where outdoor dining is only allowed, which is, I believe, all of California now. I did travel, gave me a little bit of anxiety, but I traveled to Nevada and their indoor and outdoor dining, it's a lot more relaxed. So there are very many different things that we have to plan for, but health and safety is the top one. And then the dining experience. So how a lot of people miss their old normal, right? We can't give them exactly how it used to be, but we can still deliver their favorite dishes or similar experiences in a way with great hospitality and really high quality food. So we've seen a lot of restaurants and even bars develop social distancing standards where removing the dining, reconfiguring booth seating, and using, like in this photo, plexiglass or permanent sneeze guards to kind of redefine spaces so that you don't feel isolated when you're going out. I think that's one of the key components, is to allow for the feeling of immersing yourself and not feeling fully isolated and still semi getting an experience of the restaurant or wherever you were at. And so a lot of that is just good design, good flow, you know, imagining you're the customer and coming into the space, and having very clear signage and directional signage as well are key components. We've also seen a rise in new technologies or demand for technologies that might not fully exist just yet around the world. So a global, consistent, and accessible technology. So there's a high demand for online menu viewing or mobile-friendly menu viewing, pre-ordering in all sorts of industries, for pickup, for faster service, for an express service or a quick service, depending on what kind of concept you're in. Instant feedback. So it's a lot more reliance on technology, and a lot of like mom and pop shops or small restaurants don't have the accessibility or the funds to be able to offer that. So they've been getting really creative with, you know, just Instagram, social media, things that are accessible and free. And one key component of that too is that it ensures a touchless option. So people have a little bit more confidence in knowing that 20 hands didn't touch something that they ordered. You know, some people want to be able to see every step of the way, and that's not always possible. So having touchless technology helps speed things up and make it accessible and quicker. One thing that is not a positive is a lot of single-use, individually wrapped food components. There's this really challenging and delicate balance between food safety and assumptions that a customer might make by seeing things that might not be individually packaged, even though they wore gloves, they wore a mask, they did all the food safety requirements in the kitchen, and they did it all right. But there's this disconnect between the customer not knowing all those details, especially if you've never worked in food. You don't know all the steps along the way, and having this perception of every single item individually packaged. Unfortunately, a lot of consumers have that need. So we have seen a rise in packaging, which because of COVID and it being on different types of surfaces, you know, everything's going in the trash and it's not all reusable. There are opportunities for reusable serviceware, and I think it just requires a really good planning, really good standard operating procedures that potentially you could even share with your customers to give them a little bit more, to build trust with them, so that you could move away from disposables. A lot of the times they're also more expensive. So nobody always has extra budget for those types of things. And so sustainability, we've also seen that a lot of stores aren't accepting reusable bags anymore. So keeping all of these things in mind when looking at your program or developing a new program or pivoting from your existing program, like how can you, still bring in revenue, keep people employed, by doing reusables, you keep dishwashers employed, you keep, jobs out there. So there's a lot of creativity that's coming in, like the reusable to-go serviceware, and we'll talk a little bit more about some brands that I know about. But just thinking outside the box, challenge. There aren't a lot of rules with the health departments right now around this. It's kind of a gray area. So come up with a really good plan and propose it and see if you can work with them, would be something that I would suggest. I think that's mostly my items, unless you think I missed something for now.
It's a good start. I mean, we're going to have an opportunity to definitely delve a little more deeper into what you're seeing and how you're applying that to your own business and your own creative work. But I think for us, absolutely, sustainability is a really important issue. And I think you made a really good point, Anna, that everybody wants to see an increase in sustainability and sustainable packaging and so on. And yet we're in this moment in time where everything is to go. And right now, food businesses in particular are just trying to make ends meet. They don't necessarily have the budget to be able to begin investing then in those more expensive, sustainable packaging options. So that's definitely a concern, that hopefully there's going to be, there are going to be some opportunities where we're going to see some reusable packaging that is also cost friendly for our friends in the food service world. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think at first it definitely will be expensive for a lot of these newer products. Sorry about that. But the more demand there is, the cheaper it will become. The price will come down. It is very challenging. We're in very hard times, but I think a lot of new partnerships are going to start popping up with dishwashing services for these reusables, or just low cost options. I know of a company in the city doing stainless steel, which are lightweight and cheaper material, but we'll see more and more pop up.
Well, I'm a big believer that where there is a challenge, there always is also the solution. So it's, people like us putting our heads together, and those who really do want to see not only the challenge of this time, but where the opportunity lies. I think as we begin to come forward through this moment and out of this moment, that we're going to see all these really interesting new trends arising because they had to. But I think we're going to all realize we don't want to go back to where we were before either. And we're really thankful for being stretched and being forced to have to actually think outside the box, and collaborate together to find solutions. Yeah, so speaking about, the restaurant industry and the challenges that we're facing, that our friends in food service, as well as our friends in business and industry and so on are facing, is how do we continue to engage the customer? How do we continue to create an elevated and inspiring customer experience? So this is a great segue into some of the things that you spoke about, Yumi, with regards to redefining the customer experience and so on, as well as expanding how we reach our customers, right, outside of the in-restaurant experience. So I would love to hear you share a little bit more on your thoughts on that, Yumi.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. This is really amazing. Definitely right now, culinary industry, we are going through a lot. We never really expected it. Things gonna be this way, and then we are really facing lots of challenges. And there's so much going on within that. I kind of still see opportunities really popping. And I thought really important trend that we should kind of pay attention as we go. This is more a little bit of a bigger term, is really the guest experience or guest engagement, I would say. So, like customer service has been a very important thing in our industry. We have a guest coming into a restaurant or coming into, in my setup, is coming into the cafe, and they eat our food or purchase our product and give us a feedback such as, I like it, I don't like it, it's too expensive, or it's, or it's not to my flavor. So it was a little bit more kind of a two-dimensional sort of a, relationship. I take it as guest service. But I think with everything going on, I think we need to kind of go a little bit deeper and do a guest engagement, which I call it guest engagement, because we are actually taking their feedback, but not just taking the feedback, really ask them what it is that they would like to see in order to come back to my restaurant or in order to repurchase this product. And by engaging that, you should be able to get a lot more feedback from them. And they're not going to just give you this feedback. You're going to really have to engage it through many different ways. And when you really engage them and get some feedbacks, you should be able to get some important information from that. And you could pretty much really formulate a game plan or forecasting or planning. So you could really build your business based on that. And previously, obviously, me coming from a restaurant industry, any feedback that I get is either you like it or you don't like it. but I never really took my time to ask them what it is that you did not like about, what it is that you want to see more. And I wish that if I asked that question ahead of time, I would have gotten a lot more feedback and then maybe pivot my menu according to that. So I think really understanding guest engagement, from guest services to or customer service to guest engagement, really going into that engagement level, I think that could really help us. And that's more from a leader's or manager's perspective. From more like a day-to-day operational perspective, obviously takeout service right now is center of what we do, with no dining in, and even, outdoor dining, it only covers just a little bit. So it looks like takeout service is something that we're gonna really have to own up to it and then make it into something really different. And I'm doing takeout a lot too. So, I feel like I'm spending probably a little bit more money now on takeout services than usual dining. So I know there's still a lot of opportunities out there. So I think really coming up with smart menus that translate really well from the restaurant to home, and just really redial in that takeout service is important. And a lot of people are already doing that. And I know like Anna brought up sustainability, and that's really great segue as well too. I now see certain restaurant when you order food online or phone, they do specifically ask you whether you want the utensils or not. Because when you receive utensils, you have a plastic spoons and forks or chopsticks or soy sauce, all plastic items. And I have so much at home, like I don't know what to do with it now. So when they asked me whether I really want that or not, that was pretty refreshing for me. At least I was like, yeah, no, I do not want that. I have a lot. But for me, that's really guest engagement. They kind of understood what people are feeling. And after that, I go back to them a little bit more. And, I feel like I really engaged with them. And I think that was really amazing that how they asked you, do you want this utensils or not? Just by simply asking that questions that they really created huge opportunity for me to go back to that services because I feel like they're really engaging. And with the takeout services, there's definitely people who just want to do a to-go order and come home and eat. And that's kind of majority of the clients that we have it. But there's also this client that's used to call foodies, right? They're the one used to go out and dine in to whether that's a fine dining or casual dining, but they're the one go out and spend money, and bring some revenue to the restaurant. And I kind of, based on talking to them, they want a little bit more than just regular takeout service. So they really want to engage better by asking some recipes. How did you do that? What sort of ingredients you're using? So really providing that information to them and encourage them. And they're the one of the foodie friend that I know, she specifically asked me, what if you just do half cooked, not the fully cooked, but half cooked meal, and then have us really do the finishing touches at home. And I already see this sort of a trend by a lot of pastry chefs doing that. So they kind of provide assembly kit. This is not something they need to do it from home scratch. Those provide the tart shells and pastry cream or the fruits. It's all in the meal kit. You take that home and then you actually do the assembly and then do the kind of final presentation. But a lot of people really find this very engaging. And I thought that's really great idea, not just focusing on straight up takeout service, really look into those clients who wants to do a little bit more. And they're the one could bring a lot of revenues to your business. So I think those are the two sort of a trend that I see that we could really pay attention and then to see that how we could really utilize it for all of us in our industry.
So speaking specifically to these subscription boxes that you're speaking to, how do you feel that this this new level of customer engagement, this more interactive experience for the consumer, how do you feel that is going to help to retain these customers, or for them to order again, for them to be regular, subscribe, basically?
I think I feel like those clients who is a return guest, they have a kind of brand loyalty as well. And I think you're gonna really have to capture that idea. So by engage them, by giving them that recipes guide, by giving them step-by-step guide how to assemble this dessert, I really do feel like they are part of the group. And that chances are you're not just do the takeout and then bring home and eat it and done with that. You have something that you feel like you've been involved to. So I kind of create this dish, although I didn't do it everything, but I assembled it and get that communication with the professional chefs or the chef that I used to love. And I think that really creates a lot of bond between the guest and the establishment or the chef. And they tend to follow you. They tend to ask you what other menus that you have. And they're the one who could actually give you very honest and genuine feedback for your service as well. So I think just really establishing that relationship could really blossom into something really different.
Can I add too, it's a really wonderful opportunity too to have that direct connection with your customers virtually, since everyone is doing Zoom calls and Zoom classes right now. If you were to leverage your existing kitchen that's not being used right now to create meal kits and create a new revenue stream as a temporary solution, and then offer hey guys, you'll receive your kit, here's the Zoom invite, we're gonna build this together, and do like a virtual team building, you've just created a whole new level of programming for your company where you have engagement, people are excited, they're passionate, they're able to see their teammates and do something that they used to do, although it was in person before, they can now do it virtually. That's where you can help to retain, whether it's customers or employees. It's bringing a level of excitement and appreciation to the food. Now that everyone's working from home, it becomes a burden or a task for a lot of folks, especially those with little kids or people that don't know how to cook and now they have to kind of figure it out. It's a really great opportunity, and you have to also ask who is what is your market, or who is your target market. And you have so many different levels. You have the folks that don't really know how to cook, that used to order takeout, that were getting free food from their tech companies and now are kind of forced to learn. Then you have the people that know how to cook but aren't good with time management and might have their kids at home. And then you have like the hardcore foodies who want to learn how to make the pastry cream and the tarts. So if you design your programming or your packages for those target markets, there's so many opportunities.
Well, I think you're right, Anna, because I think the reality is of all of those, let's say those three everymans that you mentioned, every man does want to become a better version of themselves. And if we can come alongside, right, our customers right now and really help them go through this process, evolve through it with them, because it really is those of us, the brands, the companies, the products that help customers really become better versions of themselves through this strange and unusual moment. Those are the ones that they're going to remember coming out of it and really feel like, they saw me, they know me, they supported me, and they're yours for life. They're, committed to you and loyal and, bearing your flag. So, yeah. Well, and speaking to that, Chef Barron, you and I had a nice long conversation on the phone the other day talking about some of the real interesting and new opportunities that you've seen arise in your area of the industry, in ways that you've pivoted. Obviously within with Carpigiani, usually you've got people coming in who are wanting to train up to be gelato chefs or to open a frozen desserts establishment, and they're coming in and you're teaching them and training them up to be able to handle that professionally. But now you're having to pivot on the Carpigiani side, and I'm sure as well on the Barron's Gelato side, to continue to reach your consumers and to continue to be thought leaders and instructors in the face of COVID. So I would love to hear you speak a little bit more to that.
So, in the frozen dessert world, I guess we're semi-insulated from economic downturns. Actually, from the 2008 economic downfall, we saw premium ice cream sales rise during that time. So that would include, your gelatos, anything that has premium ingredients, that has a premium feel to it, because it's an affordable luxury for a lot of people. So maybe they can't go out and buy, the new car or some new clothes or anything else like that, but they will splurge an extra $1 to maybe $2 per pint to get something a little bit nicer than maybe that they would normally get for a great feeling. So I think all said and done, it's been tough for us. Obviously, there's a huge downturn on the Carpigiani side. We're still selling machines, though. People are still opening up ice cream shops, but now we have to try and figure out, okay, how are we going to open up ice cream shops safely? Is it going to be more to-go items? Is it going to be prepackaged things, things of that nature? And I think for, especially for my gelato shop, so we have our wholesale location that we work out of, our wholesale kitchen, and then I have about 4 or 5 shops around the state that we have scooping from. Some of those are open right now, some of those aren't. But what we've seen is doing pop-up shops with pints. We always did that before COVID happened, and there was great success. But now during COVID, it's been absolutely incredible. So our first pop-up shop, the line of cars was 3 blocks long, 150 cars before we opened up, just to get pints. And of course, I think a little bit of that was like first week or week 1 of, so they don't know, the general public, and of course myself included, are we still going to be able to get milk and cream delivered? All of these things is going to be a huge upset. So I think there was a little bit of hoarding there, but still consistently we have people that come through our pop-up shops that spend between $60 to $100, no problem, every single week. So it's an affordable luxury for them. And I also think, the CBD THC infused has been a good push for us as well. We're in Wisconsin, so we can do only CBD right now. But I see a lot of people that I've worked with, like Cloud Cups in Philly, they do CBD infused gelato as well. And they've been able to really, really build a beautiful market place for the CBD infused. Of course, it's still very, very new in the marketplace. And until there's more and more studies that can be done about all the different effects that it can have on a person. I mean, I use CBD personally. I know a lot of other people that do take, 20, 30 milligrams a day, and that's been able to really help them otherwise, get off of opiates or help with knee pain, back pain, post-surgery, all of these other things. So I think that CBD and THC infused market, once we stop thinking of it as a drug and more medicine, that we can really start to push forward and really open up a lot of new avenues for revenue, especially for food manufacturers. So
a whole different spin on food as medicine. Do you think Hippocrates would agree?
Yes.
Good answer. And tell us a little bit more about ghost kitchens and pop-up shops.
So I think ghost kitchens are unique in the fact that you don't have an actual storefront and it's just takeout. Some of the ones that I've seen and helped some of my friends open up. And some of the restaurants that I have friends have basically shut down during COVID and just gone to strictly a ghost kitchen where they've taken out all dining and it's just to-go items, be it delivery if they work with a third-party service or if they're doing all self-delivery or even pickup. But to just have that, they've been able to cut labor. Of course, it's a totally different flow to the kitchen. How are we ordering things? And of course, single-use containers and everything else that we talked about before. But they've been able to pop up because, of course, we know that the home kitchen is kind of going to be the new restaurant going forward. And how are we going to be able to, in this industry as a whole, be able to fill that gap of, from the home consumer, okay, partially cooking meals is great, taking to-go stuff is great, but for a lot of restaurants, especially in smaller areas, they don't have the capital or the wherewithal to be able to snap quickly, thinking that this was, I've seen plenty of restaurants in Wisconsin that this is just going to be a 1 month thing. It's going to be a 2 month thing. Everyone's going to open back up and it'll be business as normal. And obviously now we're seeing that that's definitely not the case. And since this started, we have always been looking at, okay, whenever this leaves us, there's going to be a whole new normal, and how are we going to be able to fill those gaps? So our scoop shops maybe aren't going to have the traffic, or still don't have the traffic, the ones that are open. So how are we going to be able to get, the consumer, and for us, pinting stuff fresh every single week has been the way that we get there. So.
Baron, have there been any suggestions that you've made to your friends who have more kind of just really traditional brick and mortar sort of establishments on how to kind of pivot quickly and economically in
Yeah.
as low risk a way as possible economically, and for those who maybe just don't have highly skilled staff, let's say, or a whole R&D team behind them figuring out
Yeah.
new ways to do things. Any interesting advice that you've offered friends of yours in that world? Make that pivot?
Yeah, I think the meal kits is a fantastic way, especially when you have a restaurant that has a huge, trendy following, to be able to offer some of those meal kits for cooking at home, things along, and of course you always want to make sure that you're on brand. That's the one thing that I see with a lot of small little mom and pop restaurants, kind of in the Midwest, that when they take on something, they take it on because they think it's going to be a great money maker, but maybe it doesn't necessarily fit. Okay, like what are you, right? I think a lot of restaurants in smaller towns kind of have always had to fit in this, we have to have something for everybody, right? So if we're a steak joint, we also have to have fish, and then we have to have chicken, and then we have to have salads, and then we have to have something for vegans, and vegetarians. And next thing you know, you're doing a million different things, but you're not specializing in one, right? And that to me can always be disheartening, because then some of these restaurants start to get this feel, like some of the large chains that have 52-page menus. Yeah, they may be popular, but I don't think they really excel at some of the stuff that they do, because they have to offer to everybody. So if we're going to do something on brand, if it's a fried chicken joint, right, let's do some sides and some other things that fit with the kind of motif of the restaurant. And also, packaging is huge. I mean, you look at a lot of the large tech companies, especially, that have been able to package their product really, really well. People will pay for packaging. I mean, I am a sucker for really, really good packaging, and I have no problem spending $1 or $2 extra to make sure that packaging is sustainable, slick and very, very on brand. I think all of those things can help a small little mom and pop restaurant, be able to do those things. And then also, so if they were a restaurant and they were doing dessert, a lot of the times, being in this industry for 12 or 15 years, I see it all the time. You've got great home cooked food, and then the restaurant's ordering desserts from Cisco or Reinhardt or something like that. And to me, dessert's the last thing that you have usually before you leave the restaurant. So to make that really, really quality and on par is important. And it's a simple upsell. Even I see pizzerias that we work with that are doing more delivery now, them buying pints where they used to buy cans, to now deliver pints of gelato, with the pizza. So I think that's those are all good things to think about as well, going into however long this may be. So
yeah, absolutely.
Can I add to that? Scaling back the menu, like he was mentioning, 50-page menus. During these times, I don't think your customers are going to complain that not every single item might be available. I think a lot of people just want to support local restaurants and keep them open. So scaling the menu back to items that can be easily prepped by whoever you still have on staff. And also picking menu items that travel well. So not offering all of your fried appetizers that you previously offered, because when it gets to somebody's house, it's going to be a negative experience. So just thinking about those things too.
Yeah, I would have to agree, Anna. Just from a personal perspective, if you put a menu with 50 pages in front of me, my brain automatically shuts down. We already have so much information overload on a daily basis with everything that's coming at us, from branding to advertising to our emails to whatever, how many plates we're spinning. But I would hope that this moment will foster a simplifying of things, and then people really excelling and just kind of seeking excellence in what they do. Be it a 5-menu item, if it's excellent, that makes so much more of an impact. And I think the customer comes away feeling relieved rather than overwhelmed. So we have some kind of fun questions that we would like to ask you guys. and see if we have enough time to get through a good few of them. So first of all, and anyone feel free to jump in, but we would love to know how your individual and personal creative process, professionally or personally, has changed during this lockdown period.
I'll go first. I think now I'm working from home, which is really, really new to me. I think I've been working from home since March, per se, like end of March till now. Normally, I don't, myself, I'm a pastry chef, but I don't really cook much at home. A lot of people knows that I don't really make cakes, no cookies, nothing much. You know, like I really don't cook much at home because I'm just cooking at work a lot. I really didn't feel like I want to come home and do the cooking. I mean, I do a lot of R&Ds and all those ideas bouncing and anything, I just all do it at work. It makes really sense to me because there's a kitchen, there's ingredients, and I get inspired by that a lot. But now that's not really happening. I almost had to really force myself still to do a lot of R&D at home. And, you know, at first it was very challenging because, you know, I didn't have a lot of ingredients that I should have. And now I'm, you know, pulling all of my KitchenAids and all the equipment that I don't normally use at home. And really think about, before I would do R&D and, you know, that fits in my organization, and now things are changing. I think now even I'm doing a lot of R&D that it's really simplifying. And when we say, you know, simplifying things doesn't really mean this is a bad thing, right? You could still simplify your menu, but you could really focus on the flavors and the texture that previously, if I do an R&D, certain menus, it will have, let's say, 2 to 3 textures or maybe 3 to 4 flavors, let's say. Now I'm really focusing on really 1 or 2 strong flavors and 1 very strong texture that really says all about this dish. So I think I had to really change my mindset a little bit when it comes to R&D and get used to that I have to do this R&D at home setting as well, and using my oven that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work well, but, you know, still go through it, you know, still make it work. So, and at first I was really struggle because I really felt like, oh, working from home as a chef, I'm not going to be able to, I'm not going to really be able to get all the ideas I used to. But you know, you adapt to it, right? You pivot your setting according to what you have. And I was pretty surprised that I still get a lot of ideas, a lot of flavor ideas and texture ideas. So yeah, I think it's just a pivoting, but understanding that we need to be very flexible, and then really changing to the different setting is something that we have to do. So by accepting it, I think things work so much better. And then I get a lot more ideas from there.
Very nice.
Go ahead, Baron.
Oh, sorry. For us, I mean, I was on the road all the time. I traveled, you know, three weeks a month. So a lot of our inspiration came from traveling, be it Europe or, you know, North America, Asia. Now during this time, it's been Instagram stories and trying to see, you know, like what other people are doing, what other pastry chefs are doing, savory chefs, to try and get some sort of inspiration, because I don't have that kind of like in your face travel of, hey, let's, you know, go hit up Chinatown in Toronto and see what sort of, you know, fun, crazy flavors we can, you know, find at some of these places. Maybe they're doing different versions of something traditional, or maybe, you know, maybe not. And then is that something maybe we want to try and bring over into the frozen dessert world? You know, I think a lot of flavors, and like when we started, there weren't too many people that were doing kind of crazy, you know, chef inspired gelatos and ice creams 15 years ago. And I'm glad to see that now there's more out there, and there's some very, very, you know, famous ones that are doing, you know, some fun and unique flavors. It's not just, you know, chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry anymore. So.
So Anna, you know, we're talking a lot about being creative, you know, sort of behind the scenes, whether we're talking at home or in our own kitchens, professional kitchens, whether or not we're working every day out of those. But for you, I'd be interested how you're navigating, engaging your staff during this time. What is the role of employee / work culture in the midst of obviously social distancing and in this particular phase of innovating in our businesses?
Yeah, that's been pretty challenging because everything's virtual right now. I think our chefs have done a wonderful job of being creative and leveraging LinkedIn and Instagram to post videos of themselves at home, whether they're baking or cooking or anything. How to pickle. It was National Ice Cream Day, so a lot of them were posting about like how to make sorbet without an ice cream maker, just using your freezer, which makes it more approachable. So that's been a wonderful way of engaging employees, and honestly, they've been doing that on their own. Like it's been so crazy right now that we're not asking anyone to do anything, like, aside from stay safe. So that's been a big blessing. And it just goes to show, the passion for food and creativity at home, which in a way, I think seeing a chef in their own home environment makes it more realistic and more approachable for people that are wanting to learn how to cook or bake or things like that. I'm on a call with it's called Women in Food, and it's a lot of women in my position managing food programs at tech companies, and we all convene every week and we all share best practices and just kind of like high level discuss what are we seeing and what's trending. And it's very helpful because, there's just this conversation about like, well, if we're not all at work, so how do we turn our programs into something that's virtual, or how do you recreate the experience when there's nothing to walk into and nothing to smell or taste or touch, So that's all the type of things that we've been thinking about and kind of strategizing about, which is all in development, but it's things to think about, how do you redefine your program for like from a work, I don't know, how do you redefine your workplace, the program from home? How do you recreate that experience in your own home? Because a lot of people will probably still want to work from home after this is all over. So we do need to think about that.
So we also reached out to each of our panelists and asked them if they could tell us about some of the brands that they have been paying attention to during this time, that have been doing some creative or interesting pivots in the face of social distancing and COVID-19. So we asked our panelists, who inspires you and what brands have been the most creative and engaging during this time of quarantine. And we're going to go ahead and share my screen again so that we can show some of these guys. Here we go. So I'm just going to ask you to jump in. If Yumi, if you presented the first one, or if Anna, you did, and Chef Barron, if you have some that you would like to present as well. Who are some of these brands that are inspiring you during these times?
I can go. So I just wanted to call out Stanford Dining. If you guys don't follow them on Instagram, they do have a public Instagram account. They were one of the first universities to pivot. A lot of students got locked on campus, a lot of international students, and couldn't leave. So they had to pivot their entire dining operations and feed folks. And they put mobile hand washing sinks. They put excellent signage. They created one way in, one way out. They closed all their indoor dining. They do beautiful food in well thought out packaging. It is disposable, but every program is going to be different. But they've done such an excellent job. So check them out, follow them, just if you want some inspiration for any of your operations as well. And World Central Kitchen, they've been partnering with a lot of local restaurants, smaller local restaurants, caterers, as well as food service companies like Sodexo and Bon Appetit, to address local hunger, whether it was the cruise ship that was quarantined in San Francisco. I know Bon Appetit helped with them, with World Central Kitchen, to local elderly homes or private homes that might need access to meals and food. They've done an amazing job. So they've been very innovative, and they've been creating social distancing, like standard operating procedures for the kitchens. So I just wanted to call them out too. Headley and Bennett is a apron company that immediately started making reusable masks. Can you imagine with your crews of 50, 60 in the larger restaurants having a disposable mask every single day? I know they're costly, but it's worth it by the time you get it washed. And with all of the other disposables we're sending to landfill, if we can avoid one product, and maybe convince, if you're at a tech company, see if you can work it out to try to make it work with whatever budget you have. But they've done an excellent job, high quality stuff, and they're all made by hand. And then two other brands that I wanted to call out too is Drinique. They're based out of Arizona, and myself and a couple of other folks that manage food from Asana and Pinterest, we developed a reusable bento box to address some of these meal kit options or packaged meals. And it could be used in so many different industries and hotels for catering, et cetera, et cetera. But they're using a melamine that's based out of Mexico rather than China. So it's a smaller carbon footprint, and it's lightweight, and it can withstand heat. And it looks really nice, and it has a lid on it with little compartments on the inside. So like hats off to them for the creativity and actually reaching out and doing a focus group for people in the industry and creating a product that wasn't out there. There are bento boxes out there, but it's customizable and it's different. Let me know if you guys want more information. And one other company, Lionswood, they're based in the US, and they've been fabricating a lot of custom sneeze guards for bars, booths, tables, coffee shops, offices. They also design portable serveries as well. Super flexible design, but they're doing really great work too. If you guys want to follow them on Instagram as well. Yeah, those are some of the ones that I just wanted to call out. Oh, and one other one I added here is Vero Water Systems. They're developing touchless water dispensers, which is helpful for restaurants and or cafeterias or cafes for tech companies.
And Yumi, I think you had mentioned King Arthur Flour and Love for Butter, and I think maybe you had also mentioned Vero Water Systems.
Yeah, so King Arthur Flour, from more like education and work from home perspective. If you go to King Arthur Flour, I mean, it's a really well-known company, everyone knows that, but their website, if you really go, specifically has a lot of classes that you can really take. It's free, and a lot of information just in general regarding baking or pastry. And I thought it was really useful and very informative. I highly recommended this to my fellow bakers and pastry cooks and who is working from home. It's just some of the recipe is very easy to follow, very approachable. And like if you really just want a lot of ideas of what you do at home when it comes to home baking, I think this is very good website that you can really use it. And from, like I shared before, more the guest engagement perspective, Love for Butter, this is Chef John Shelsta. He's my friend and also a pastry chef, and he's really well known for his pop-up shops. And he does a lot of laminated dough, quenamans, and he usually does his pop-up shop every Sunday. But what's really interesting about his service is he really does do guest engagement. He is really out there talking to them with the social distance and everything as well. But he doesn't just offer his product, but he really goes above and beyond and then ask them, what do you really want to see? How did you feel about my service? How was, my quinaman? So he always interact with guests, and then this is how he got a lot of followers as well too, because he doesn't really do normal advertising per se. It's really word of mouth, but it's really amazing. I think by showing really great guest experience and guest engagement, he was able to really establish a lot of people following him. And it's really great to see once in a while to see that the connection, the human to human connection. Now we can't really do it a lot, but when there's an opportunity, he's always out there really greeting the guests and talking to them. So I thought, it would be really awesome website and the service that you guys could really check it out. Yeah, and then King Arthur Flour, like I said, for really learning and educational purposes, this is really great website that you could really go and learn a lot from it.
Mm-hmm. Chef Barron, have you seen any brands that are inspiring you in the way of safety or ghost kitchens or other creative innovations?
I mean, I think some of the stuff that I like the contactless water dispensers. I think Scotsman or somebody else does an ice dispenser and water dispenser. I think that, that's really cool. I mean, on the innovation side, yes, but having the long days and splitting my time between, my company and Carpigiani, basically when I do have some downtime and I'm on social media, I want something that's a little bit informative, but also cute. And I think my buddy, actually, Malcolm Livingston, who's with Ghetto Gastro out in New York, he posts some videos with baking and doing frozen desserts with him and his daughter. And it's probably just, some of the cutest stuff you'll see online. So
we can all use some cuteness online, right?
yeah, that's for sure.
We all need a little bit of a little extra dose of delight these days. So it's so exciting to see people taking their creativity into the online sphere and really seeking to not only innovate within their own businesses and find new pathways of innovation, but to also to engage their consumers and to bring a smile to their faces and to make the shelter at home, a little bit more bearable and enjoyable.
I do want to add too, from in informing the end consumer perspective, transparency is super important right now. The more transparent you are, the more trust you'll build with your customers. So really focusing on that as part of your operations and investing in the extra marketing you might need for that, or extra signage or extra content on your website, or maybe a marketing round where you do a full week about all the safety things that you've implemented in your business and you highlight one each day, or things like that, in order for people to be like, okay, these guys have their stuff together. They're thinking about these things. And that way, when you eventually take the plunge and you might move to reusables, for example, you've built that trust. And like Baron mentioned earlier, you're willing to pay that extra $1 or $2 for the more sustainable packaging. And you can even establish a model kind of like Strauss Dairy does, where you return the bottle and you get a credit or something like that. So I think that's where that creativity is going to spark.
And in addition to increasing the sense of security and safety in the eyes of your consumer or your customer, how do we work towards increasing the sense of security in the eyes of our employees as they begin to come back into the workspace?
Very similar process. Establishing your standard operating procedures, potentially making them accessible or public in order for people to see. I know Stanford Dining actually published theirs on their dining website. If any operators on the call are interested, you can check it out. Very clear signage explaining things. A lot of it is just education, and we have the opportunity to send newsletters directly to employees. So that's where you can plug in information about all of those safety information. And, once you're at a point where you have the program in place, the more you can give out there, the better, because people will know what to expect. They'll ask less questions because they've been told everything, and they have trust in the operations and in the safety of the food and the environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do find ourselves with a lot of opportunities at this moment. And I think some of those that we've touched on that really seem to be taking a place of prominence are those of delivering safety, educating, thinking like the customer, thinking like the end consumer, and going, what would I need to see on this label, or what guarantee would I need to feel to be able to, feel like I can have a safe and yet delightful experience here. And then that engagement is key. People are so isolated right now, and we're just barely starting to venture out. And then the minute we do, we have to go back in. So definitely engagement and helping people feel like we're all in this together, and fostering that sense of connection and community, despite the barriers that we find in front of us right now. So, a time, like I said, of great challenge, but I'm a firm believer that also a time of great opportunity. And it's just looking for where we can find those opportunities and harness them. So some of the takeaways from this webinar, I thank you guys so much for joining us. Just really relevant and powerful information that you've shared, and hear it from the movers and shakers within the industry, those who are behind the scenes, really making sure that the rest of us feel like we're being taken care of and being seen. You're doing just a great service, and we honor you right now for that. And takeaways, yeah, safety first, ghost kitchens, pop-up ideas. You know, we don't have time for questions right now from our attendees, but any questions that you have for us, for Cremoluso, or for any of our panelists, please feel free to email us. You can find us at cremoluso@cremoluso.com. And any questions for any of the panelists, we'll be happy to forward them along to Anna or to Yumi or to Baron. And again, just
one further thing I just wanted to say really quickly is that, again, to thank our panelists for coming on today. And a challenge that I want to leave everyone with today is think about ways that you can partner together, because we've talked a lot about how we can engage our consumer and our customers and our employees, but we also are trying to navigate this ourselves as well as industry leaders. And so how can we, I would challenge you this week to think about a partner or a colleague that you have that you can maybe begin to brainstorm with on how you can partner together to help sustain each other's businesses and encourage each other in how to better engage our consumers and our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody, our panelists and our audience, for just another session in our digital summer series, Delivering Delight in the New Normal. And just keep on keeping on, everybody. We're here with you. And thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Make it a great day.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.
Wow. Bye.